Welcome back to Share the Pants. Most people are waiting to feel confident before they start dating, but that's a lot like waiting to be fit before you go to the gym.
Yeah, so last week I shared some practical things that I did to make myself feel more confident before I started dating. Losing weight, quitting smoking, being more financially stable. But even with all that, I still had insecurities that I needed to overcome.
Yeah, and that insight of yours got me thinking about how common that is, that you get your ducks in a row first, you do the work, become the confident person that you want to be, and then you start dating. And I think there's like a kind of secret belief underneath all of that, that if you do enough self-improvement before you start dating and you get your confidence up to a level that you feel is equivalent of being ready, the secret sneaky belief is that your confidence will actually act as a buffer to all the hard parts of dating. Like, it'll protect you from having to face those insecurities. But what I was thinking about, and I wanted to do this follow-up episode, is like, what if you can't actually outrun your insecurities before you start dating? Like, what if the challenges in dating are actually a healthy part of the process? And so we're going to dive into that today and really talk about how you build confidence through dating rather than before it. Because I talk to single people dozens of times a week, and at least half of the people I talk to tell me that they're not ready to date yet, that they have to do XYZ first. And I'm like, no. Let's do that in process. And I think that tackling that by yourself can be difficult, but with support, it can get a lot easier. And so there are some common myths that I hear over and over again from the singles that don't feel like they're ready to date. They actually want to work with me, but they're like, I'm going to hire you once I've checked these boxes. And so the first myth is that you either have confidence or you don't. You're either a confident person or you're an insecure person. And this is a binary that is just too black and white. It's not actually true at all. Most people are a mix of both. We're confident in some areas, we're insecure in other areas. Like, even right now, recording this podcast, like, this is not a strength of mine yet. We're new to podcasting. I'm nervous every time we record an episode because this is not a format that I'm familiar with. I'm used to writing down my thoughts in a very clear, or as clear as I think I can be, right? Like, I'm a storyteller through writing, but like, just talking to you about either random stuff or important stuff, whatever it is, like, it feels like I talk about dating for a living, but on a podcast, it does feel different. So I'm a very confident dating coach. I'm not a confident podcaster. I'm still freaking learning how to do this, you know?
Right.
So, like, I'm confident and insecure.
Yeah, same. I'm confident. I was never confident in dating. That was a big issue for sure. But I'm confident in plenty of other areas of life. And again, you made me feel more confident while I was dating. I think it was just part of finding the right person.
Yeah, I do think finding the right person is a big help.
Yeah. So yeah, if I could go back and do it again, I wouldn't have just completely stopped dating throughout that time in my life. It's hard to go back and try to think of ways I would do things differently now because every decision that I made got me right
Where
here.
you are, yeah.
Possibly.
Yes.
Maybe we would be here with a few different choices and if I were to still be dating, but I don't know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did need to do some of that work, I feel like. But I could also highly benefited from having a therapist or talking to someone about what's really going on inside and about beating myself up over every little thing. And yeah, because that was not healthy. I decided these are the things that are going to help me get over those when I'm sure there were plenty of other things that I needed to and still need.
I was going to say, don't you still beat yourself up? Maybe not to the degree you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like quitting smoking, like all the things you did, they do help, right? I'm not saying like don't do those things, because I do think we all need a base level of confidence to put ourselves in a position that is vulnerable. Like, podcasting if you're new to it, or dating if you're new to it, or whatever it is. Like, new things are scary because they're unknown. And dating is especially scary because it's full of rejection. It's full of like questioning yourself, being hard on yourself. Did I say the right thing on that date? Did I say the wrong thing? Do they think I'm attractive? Do they hate me? Am I funny? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But I feel like we need a certain level of confidence, but we also need a certain level of exposure.
Right. Yeah,
to the hard things to get better at them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's not really fair to look back and be like, I could have done that different. You could have, but you didn't, and you're still here. You're still married. You're still happy. Like, and you still have to work on not beating yourself up.
Yes.
But maybe in a environment, I don't know, you could tell me, but maybe in an environment where you are in a happy relationship, maybe that gets easier than when you're alone with your own thoughts all the time.
Definitely.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that both things can be true at the same time. You can be confident and insecure, and dating is going to bring every insecurity to the table, no matter how confident you are.
Right.
So I think like thinking that you can prevent pain, or you can prevent yourself from feeling negative feelings is a myth. Confidence won't fix that.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The other myth I wanted to talk about, right, well, I mean, we've been talking about it, is like, you get confident first and then you date. And that's the proper order.
Right.
And for some people, like for you, that did actually work. Right. For me,
it did work, but it also was a hindrance. Like, it wasn't just a fix all, that's for sure. And like I said, I definitely would have benefited from being out there and putting myself out there. And I'm sure there were people out there for me, but I wasn't probably mentally in a place to get there, I suppose. Don't know really what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah,
but
I think that's kind of the point, is like, you weren't mentally in a place to get there. And so you used physical, tangible things to aid yourself mentally, which is a perfectly acceptable way to do it. But it's not the only way to do it. There's also we work on our emotions and our mental state. And then through that, we're able to take the actions we need to take. Like, some people might not have just been able to quit smoking and lose weight. They might have needed to work on heart stuff first, like all the stories that are running and all the beliefs that they have. Because, I mean, there are a million people who struggle to stop smoking. Is it because you have more willpower? Maybe. I actually think my husband has a shitload of willpower that's uncommon. So I think you did have that edge. But I also think, like, there are just internal things that if they're not resolved, it's really hard to take action. Like, if you believe that smoking makes you cool and that it's how you meet people, like, let's say you work in the restaurant industry and everybody goes on break and smokes. Well, you're going to have to do some internal work to quit smoking, where somebody who's not around smoking all the time maybe doesn't have that same attachment to it of like, this is part of my identity. This is part of who I am. This is how I hang out with my friends or whatever.
And I was in that restaurant world for a long time, and I smoked the whole time I was in that industry, and I was out of it when I decided to quit.
Yeah.
So that probably does have something to do with it, but it's also a true extreme physical addiction that once, that's how it starts. And that is definitely how it starts, is just, you're at a party, it was in college for me, and everyone would smoke cigarettes at the party. And so that's how it started until I needed them, and I was smoking 5 packs a week, and it just became like an actual physical, I didn't want to do it anymore. I told myself, I lied to myself and said that I want to go out. I like it. I like going outside and having a cigarette.
Yeah.
And when really I didn't.
Yeah. And so, I mean, addiction, there are layers. There is the physical component, but there is the mental, emotional component too.
Definitely.
And so,
they say, I don't want to, I don't know. We'll talk about it. Who cares? This is about stop smoking. It's 3 weeks of physical addiction.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's all mental. And the mental part is actually the hardest part, because you can go 3 months and then just you have the worst day of your life, and there's a cigarette nearby. And I remember I had been quit for 3 months, and I went on a road trip with my brother, and he had a pack of cigarettes and he was asleep in the passenger seat, and that's how it started. And I smoked for a whole nother year after that. And I remember he had a pack in the passenger side door as he was sleeping. I reached over there, snuck it out while he was sleeping so he wouldn't wake up, lit it up, and then he caught me at one point, and I was like, well, it'll just be this weekend. I'll just smoke for this
Yeah.
weekend for the road trip. Yeah, a year later, torturing myself, quitting again. So
Was that the last time?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
You
that
had
was
to
the
fall
end of
off the wagon and be like, what did I do to myself
That's
to
right.
really like not have to do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think like, you know, you're proving or like you're supporting my point, I think, by there are layers to everything. Like there is a spiritual level, an emotional level, a physical level, a mental level, and people pick different doors to walk through. Like, you know, to stop or start doing something, they usually pick one of those doors. Like, I'm going to walk through this physical door to get to my confidence, or I'm going to walk through this emotional door to get to my confidence. But at some point, you have to do all the doors if you want that to be like the new you, right? It doesn't just happen because you walked through one of those doors. You still have to address the issue, whatever the issue is. We're using smoking as the example, but whatever it is on every single level.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, the stories we tell, like you telling yourself it's just going to be this weekend, you know, it's okay because I'm on a road trip with my brother or whatever else you told yourself, like we all create these narratives that help us to do bad things and justify them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that when you're so committed, or when single people are so committed to like, I have to lose weight before I can date. I have to make more money. I have to, whatever, before I can be valuable to another person. Like, I just think that I don't want that to be the only option for people. If that's the road you take, no judgment, great. That's a great road to pick. But it's not the only road. Like for me, you know, I was a heavier person too, and I was still dating. Even at my heaviest, I was still dating. Now, I was doing other weird things about it. Like I carry all my weight in my belly. So I would like get really crafty with my pictures. I'd like lay on a bed on my stomach so you can't see my stomach and just show my cute little face off. And then I'd show up to dates and people would be surprised because my face doesn't carry all my weight. So they would see my face and think like, oh, she's pretty, and go out with me, and then see my body and be like, oh, didn't see that coming. And so I was getting rejected over and over again based on my weight in real life when I could have easily shown my body on the apps and somebody could have swiped left and not hurt my feelings because I wasn't ever really, keeping track of who was swiping. And like, it wasn't
well, you never know if someone swipes left.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, that's true. I guess you don't ever know if somebody swipes left. But I think like people will, if they really like somebody, they'll be like, okay, I swiped on Bob. Mm-hmm. And then, 2 weeks go by, Bob hasn't been a match. Oh shit, Bob doesn't like me. Yeah. I think that does happen.
Sure.
I was never concerned with that.
That does happen. That's true.
Yeah, I was never concerned with that. But I learned the hard way. It's better to just show who you really are and be honest up front and let people decide. Like, and I also had to like, instead of saying to myself, I have to lose weight, which is something my family told me, like the men in my family especially, some of the women too, but they were like, men are visual creatures. They want someone who's physically fit. If you're going to find a good man, you're going to have to lose weight. And so, but I didn't feel capable really of losing the weight at that time. And so I was like, okay, I have to hide my body. That's how I fixed this problem. But it didn't fix the problem. It actually made it worse because then I was getting rejected over and over again based on my body and feeling crappier and crappier about myself. And what I had to do, like I didn't lose the weight before, I was dating while I was heavy. And I was having to tell myself, there are men who like thick women. There are men who are going to choose me regardless of the fact that I carry extra weight in my belly. Like, I'm going to put myself, my full body as is on my profile, and I'm going to let a man decide if that's good or bad. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to take that personally. And there will be somebody who wants me for me.
That's right.
And so I took the mental route. I had to like create a whole new belief system for myself to be able to be honest about my weight. And, then there were seasons when I actually was losing weight. When you and I met, I wasn't at my heaviest. I wasn't at my skinniest either. But like I felt really good about myself because I was doing things that were improving my health. I was moving my body. I was eating healthier. I wasn't perfect by any means. Like I've never been skinny a day in my life anyway. But, well, I say that even that's not true. Like I look at pictures from me in high school and I was skinny, but in high school I thought I was fat. Right? Like, and
Yeah.
I look at my high school body and I'm like, if only I had that body today.
Right.
But back then I was telling myself how fat I was compared to the other girls.
Yeah. You remember that song that was on the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack? That's like just the guy talking and he's like, you're going to look back at yourself and you're going to think you were fat and you looked really good. So live in the now. Yeah.
Why? I've seen that movie a million times.
We'll have to listen
I never heard that.
Yeah. He just talks through the whole song and it's just all about positive
affirmations and reinforcement. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll definitely go listen to that after this.
Exactly. So that's what that reminded me of. But yeah, I mean, for me, I missed out on a lot of confidence, and you can probably attest to that on just the way that I dated. It was clunky and I didn't really know what I was doing and I didn't have moves and I didn't have game and you helped me through that. And you actually told me, I think I told you that, and you're like, I'm glad you don't have game, honestly. Maybe you're just saying that to make me feel better, but
no, I mean, I thought it was endearing. And for the record, let's tell the people what you actually mean. Because you did have game when it came to like planning the date, pursuing me, having a good conversation with me on the dating app. Like you did, but on our second date, when it came to actually like making physical
moves.
Yeah. You were very shy.
Yeah.
But the way that you were like so vulnerable and you were like, I'm not good at this. I'm nervous right now.
Yeah.
Like it, even if some part of me was like, I wish this guy did have some moves.
Right.
It like melted my heart. I was like, oh, that's, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you'd
But thankfully I was comfortable telling that to you.
Yeah.
Most of the time I wasn't.
If you'd pretended you had moves and you really didn't, that would have been clunky. Right. But like, I actually think the way you handled it was honest and it made me like you more, not less, because,
Good.
You were just being yourself. Again, for some reason, we were just really able to be ourselves. I mean, I think that's because we're soulmates, but we were able to really be ourselves with each other from the get-go. Yeah.
But I always felt like conversations were hard for me on dates. When I got back out there after I lost the weight, it always felt like I was sweating and this is so hard and I'm so nervous. And
yeah, I think first dates are awkward for just about everybody, no matter how confident you are. Like no one gets out of the first date without those because you're with a stranger, you're evaluating what you're doing while also trying to be present.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this, it's just a weird fucking dynamic.
Yeah.
I think I loved our first date. We will tell that story at some point, but like, I thought you nailed the first date. And one of the things you did really well is you didn't make me carry the conversation. Because I've been on so many dates where a man didn't ask me a single question. He either talked about himself the whole time or just stared at me like, who's gonna pull the trigger first? Who's gonna say something? And I'm equally as shy as you are. Like, I'm not good at just making up conversation out of thin air. I need you to ask me a question. I need you to give me something to respond to. Like, I need the invitation to talk. It's funny because on a second date one time, a guy was driving me home. It was the first time he'd come and like picked me up for a real date. We'd had a like coffee vibe check date. And he said, "You are the quietest woman I've ever met." And I was like, I am, because I don't see myself as quiet at all. And he was like, well, you just hardly say anything unsolicited. And I was like, do other women just talk? Like, they just start talking without you asking them a question? He's like, yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, well, that's news to me. Like, I thought, if you're not asking me something, I just sit here and look pretty. And that, and after that, I did correct, like, okay, if it's silent for too long, I will try to say something.
Right.
But I corrected it by like, then I started asking people questions on dates. Like, I would take the interviewer kind of position. And then I got feedback about that, it felt like I was on a job interview the whole time.
Well, that's what first dates do feel like most of the time.
Yeah.
So, And yeah, but as for the guy, that feels like that's your job, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I feel all the pressure of like, what am I going to talk about? Which is also why I don't like talking for forever. I'm not just not good at it. Neither of us are good at small talk.
No.
We don't like doing it. We'd rather have a deep conversation. And so if you're just chatting back and forth, what are you going to talk about on the actual date?
Mm-hmm.
That was always my philosophy. So
Yeah. And I think you nailed that part. I think you nailed the first date. So the point of me telling those dating stories, though, is really to just illuminate the point that I was practicing dating while dating. And it was kind of like, I felt like the Goldilocks of dating, right? So one guy says, you're too quiet. Another guy says, you asked me too many questions. I felt like I was on a job interview. And like that kind of feedback is only feedback you can get from somebody who's dating you. Like, and what their perception of you is, whether it's right or wrong, it was feedback that helped me be like, okay, you can't say nothing on a date, Nicole. And you also don't want to just ask him 50 questions in rapid fire succession on a first date. And so I like found my middle ground. So for me, I tell my clients now, dating is a dojo. It's a place where you show up, you put in the practice, you put in the reps, and you get better at it by doing that. Really though, being given that feedback didn't feel good at the time, it made me a better dater. So I just really want to say, like, if you feel insecure while you're dating, that is not a problem. That's going to happen. And actually, that feedback you get while you're dating and the insecurities that come up while you're dating, those are a perfect flashlight to where you can be doing better, to where you can like, oh, I don't need just practice in every area of dating. Actually, I'm really good at the dating chat, but I get really awkward on the first date. Or I nail a first date, but then waiting between the first date until he asks me on a second date, I get really squirrely. Like you start to see where exactly you are either going wrong or where you're emotionally getting triggered. And that actually gets to be an advantage. Your insecurities are an advantage, not a disadvantage. And so I think, of course, it's easy for me to say this now because I'm a dating coach now, but it's also my lived experience. I think getting out there, there's nothing that can beat getting out there and finding out what kind of dater you are, like on the job training,
Yeah. And if you're lucky, you'll find the right person during that. You'll find the perfect person.
Yeah.
You, in all rights, shouldn't have even been dating. If I was your dating coach, which God thank I'm not anyone's dating coach, but but you wouldn't have been dating right after your most recent relationship. I would have told you, why don't you just take about a month off and
Yeah, and Joel's referring to the fact that I got back on the dating scene like within a month of a really toxic relationship. And I didn't want to. That's because I was working with a coach at the time. She happened to be a business coach, a psychic business coach. This should probably be a story for probably a whole other episode that has a lot of things to it. But the short version is I hired a psychic business coach to build my business, and Spirit didn't want to talk about business at all. They wanted to talk about my love life. And she was like, your husband is on the dating apps right now. Get your ass back out there. And I was like, no, I need time. I need to recover. My heart hurts. And she's like, no, Nicole. And she was pretty aggressive. So she would like boss me about. And I was like, fine. And I did. And here we are. So It worked out.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you don't always have to wait till you're perfectly ready. You can just get out there and have some on-the-job training.
Well, and I would argue that you're never actually really ready.
No.
You're never completely ready. There's always things to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the insecurities that get triggered by dating, like I really think we all have these little like insecurity gremlins that are like hanging out inside, and dating's just the water that like what's the furry guy that's like, the movie Gremlins. You've not seen this movie?
Gizmo.
Gizmo, yeah. Like we feel like we're Gizmo until we get put into the dating waters, and then all our gremlins like come out and start just destroying the fucking house. But you don't even know there's gremlins in there unless you get exposed to the water.
Right.
So the insecurities, or the dating arena, it's important because then oh, there are some gremlins that need to be dealt with,
Yes.
and then you can deal with them.
Right.
So what's the point? What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that you don't have to wait until you resolve all of your wounding, all of your trauma, all of your confidence issues, whatever your issues are. You don't have to wait until they're fully resolved. Obviously, we're not advocating for being a complete hot mess and dating and, hurting other people because you're living your trauma out on the dating scene. Like, we're not advocating for that. But if you've done enough work, confidence is not the prerequisite. And actually, I think it gets to be a result of putting yourself out there and adjusting along the way. Like, we're just like I said at the beginning, I'm not comfortable podcasting yet, and I'm adjusting things as we go, as we listen back. I'm, being critical and being like, okay, I don't like the way I did that. I can adjust that. Like, for the first several episodes, I felt like I was like yelling all the time. I like shout talk when I get excited, and I'm like, okay, bring it down, Nicole. It's okay. You don't have to yell every word. So I'm learning and growing as we go, and you can do the same in dating.
That's right.
So if you found our conversation today refreshing, if it shifted your perspective, and another single that needs to hear this, invitation to send it their way, because there's no reason to sit on the bench and wait until you're quote unquote ready when you can go ahead and get out there. And if you are ready to get out there, I do have a really special opportunity. You can spend a week with me, and I will give you coaching for free so that we can build some momentum and build your confidence in action. You have to be willing to actively date. This is not prep work. This is dating work. You do have to apply for this because I only have 6 spots open. And I would love to work with you. If that sounds of interest to you, you can check the link in the show notes.
All righty. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.